When she died in 1578, they found the letters, hundreds of them, hidden in secret compartments throughout her palace chambers. Letters from foreign ambassadors, military commanders, government ministers, all addressed to her, all asking for her approval on matters of state. But here's what shocked everyone. She had no official title, no government position. According to Ottoman law, she had no power at all. Yet for 40 years, she had been making the decisions that shaped an empire. This is the true story of Mihrimah Sultan, the woman who ruled from the shadows. The Ottoman Empire in the 16th century was the most powerful force on earth. It controlled 3 continents. Its armies were unstoppable. And for decades, everyone believed the sultans were making all the decisions. They were wrong. Behind every major decision, there was a woman. She never sat on the throne, never commanded armies, never held an official title beyond princess. But she controlled everything, and nobody realized it until she was gone. To understand how she did it, we need to go back to 1522, to the moment a baby girl was born in Topkapi Palace, the daughter of the most powerful sultan in history, and a slave girl who had changed everything. Her father was Suleiman the Magnificent, the sultan who would reign for 46 years and expand the empire to its greatest extent. Her mother was Rak, the former slave who had broken 600 years of tradition to become the first legal wife of a sultan. Mihrimah was born into power, but that wasn't enough. Ottoman princesses were expected to marry Yahweh children and stay out of politics. They lived in luxury but had no real influence. Mihrimah had other plans. From childhood, she was different. While other princesses learned embroidery and poetry, Mihrimah studied law and politics. She attended her father's council meetings. Not officially, she would sit behind a latticed screen where women could observe but not participate. But she was listening, learning, planning. Her father adored her. Suleiman had many children, but Mihrimah was his favorite. He called her the sun and moon of my life. He gave her the best education money could buy. Teachers in languages, mathematics, law, and military strategy. He didn't realize he was creating the most powerful political mind in the empire. By age 15, Mihrimah understood Ottoman politics better than most viziers. She knew which officials were corrupt, which generals were loyal, which ambassadors could be trusted, and she was beginning to use that knowledge. In 1539, at age 17, she married Rustem Pasha. This wasn't a random choice. Rustem was brilliant, ambitious, and completely loyal to her mother. More importantly, he was about to become Grand Vizier, the second most powerful position in the empire. Through him, Mihrimah would have direct access to government. But she didn't stop there. After her marriage, instead of moving to a separate palace as was customary, she convinced her father to let her stay in Topkapi, close to information, close to control. What happened next was genius. Mihrimah created a network. She placed her people everywhere. Servants who reported to her, officials who owed her favors, merchants who gave her information. Within 5 years, nothing happened in the empire without her knowing about it. She held audiences. Foreign ambassadors would officially meet with the Sultan or Grand Vizier, but before that, they would quietly visit Mihrimah. They learned that getting her support meant getting what they wanted. Opposing her meant failure. She never threatened anyone. She didn't need to. Her influence was absolute. Here's an example that shows her power. In 1544, the empire was considering a major military campaign against Persia. The Sultan's council was divided. Half wanted war, half wanted peace. The decision would affect millions of lives and cost thousands. Mihrimah studied the situation. She consulted with generals, reviewed intelligence reports, analyzed supply chains. Then she made her decision. Peace. She quietly spoke to key council members. By the time the official meeting happened, everyone had mysteriously changed their minds. The war was cancelled. Nobody questioned why. But this is what's remarkable. Historical records from that time credit the Sultan with the decision. Some mention the Grand Vizier's wisdom. Nobody mentions she left no fingerprints. That was her genius. Her mother, Roxolana, died in 1558. Many expected Mihrimah's influence to decrease. Instead, it grew. Without her mother's more visible presence, Mihrimah could work even more secretly. She became the invisible hand guiding the empire. When her father died in 1566, her brother, Suleiman II, became Sultan. Suleiman was not a strong ruler. He preferred wine and luxury to governance. Perfect for Mihrimah. She essentially ran the empire. While he enjoyed his pleasures, he was happy to let her handle the boring work of actually ruling. She chose his ministers, approved his military campaigns, negotiated his treaties, all while maintaining the fiction that Suleiman was making these decisions. Court records from this period show Suleiman's signature on hundreds of documents, but Mihrimah wrote most of them. Here's how she maintained this illusion. She never spoke in public about politics. She never attended official government meetings. She never contradicted the Sultan publicly. To outsiders, she was simply a wealthy princess who patronized the arts and built mosques. A religious, charitable woman of no political importance. But in private, she was something else entirely. She had a private office in her palace quarters. Ministers would visit officially to pay respects. In reality, they were receiving orders. Ambassadors would officially attend public ceremonies. In reality, they were negotiating deals in her chambers. She used multiple strategies to hide her power. Sometimes she would have her husband issue orders that she had actually written. Sometimes she would convince the Sultan that her ideas were his own. Sometimes she would simply make decisions and let others take credit. She didn't care about recognition. She cared about control. In 1561, she did something unprecedented. She built a massive mosque complex in Istanbul, the Mihrimah Sultan Mosque. This wasn't just about religion. Mosque complexes were centers of social power. They included schools, hospitals, soup kitchens. Thousands of people depended on them, and Mihrimah controlled who ran these institutions. Through her charitable works, she created another network. Teachers loyal to her, doctors who reported to her, religious leaders who supported her decisions. She was building a shadow government right under everyone's noses and calling it charity. Foreign diplomats eventually figured out the truth. Venetian ambassadors wrote reports describing Mihrimah as the real power in the empire. But these reports stayed secret. The Ottoman public never knew. Even most Ottoman officials didn't realize how much power she wielded. When Suleiman II died in 1574, her nephew Murad III became Sultan. Murad was young, inexperienced, and easily influenced. Mihrimah saw her opportunity. For the next 4 years, she would reach the height of her power. She was now advising her third sultan. And this Jimmy, she didn't even try to hide it from him. She attended council meetings, not behind a screen, sitting at the table. The ministers were shocked. A woman at the Imperial Council was unheard of, but Murad had invited her, and nobody dared challenge the Sultan's aunt, especially when everyone knew she held real power. But Mihrimah was getting older. She had ruled for 4 decades. She had seen she had shaped the destiny of millions. And she was tired. In 1578, at age 56, she fell ill. Within weeks, she was dead. That's when they found the letters. Her servants were cleaning out her chambers. Behind false walls and hidden drawers, they discovered her archive. 40 years of correspondence, copies of every important document, records of every deal, evidence of every decision she had influenced. The government seized everything immediately. They couldn't let the public know the truth, that a woman with no official power had been running the empire for decades. It would undermine the entire system. So they buried the evidence. Most of those letters disappeared, destroyed or locked away in archives where nobody could read them for centuries. Historians barely mentioned Mihrimah. She was just another Ottoman princess, one who built some mosques and married a grand vizier. Nothing special. But in the 20th century, researchers finally gained access to those old archives. They found fragments of her correspondence, letters from Venetian ambassadors describing her power, financial records showing her enormous wealth and influence, architectural plans she had approved for government buildings, evidence everywhere. Slowly, the truth emerged. Mihrimah Sultan hadn't just been a princess. She had been one of the most powerful political figures in Ottoman history. For 40 years, she had shaped imperial policy, chosen government ministers, influenced military campaigns, all while officially having zero power. Modern historians now recognize her as a political genius. She understood something fundamental. Official titles meant nothing. Real power came from information, relationships, and strategic thinking. She mastered all three, and she did it in a system designed to keep women powerless. Some historians compare her to modern intelligence chiefs or political strategists, working behind the scenes. No public recognition, but enormous influence. She invented techniques that politicians still use today. Building networks, controlling information, influencing without commanding. What makes her story remarkable isn't just that she held power. It's that she did it for so long without anyone realizing. In a court full of spies and rivals, she maintained perfect operational security for 40 years. That's not luck. That's genius. She left behind a complex legacy. Her mosques still stand in Istanbul, beautiful monuments to her public image as a charitable princess. But now we know they were also instruments of power, ways to control people while appearing purely religious. She understood that power works best when nobody sees it. If you want to discover more shocking stories of power, strategy, and hidden influence from history's most dangerous courts, subscribe to Imperial Secrets. Next time, we reveal the truth about the slave who became the Sultan's best friend and ruled an empire until that same friend ordered his execution. You won't believe how it ended.